Rosepetal did her BA in anthropology. I didn't know that. That was like news to me whilst I was talking to you about that. She did her BA in anthropology at the University of Nairobi, Kenya, which means she's originally from Kenya, but she's currently residing in the United States. She's also done a master's degree in international development at the University of Denver here in the US. And that was where me and Rose Petal met. I was very enamored by her. I'm like, wow, this is a really, really great young lady, great professional. And currently, she works as a strategic operations manager at African Chamber of Commerce here in Colorado. So thank you so much, Rose Petal, for agreeing to do this with us today, for agreeing to come on here and share from your own experiences, especially regarding like ideas. A lot of young professionals, we have ideas, and even news medias like carry so many, oh, do this, do this, do this, but nobody tells you how to do it. So thank you so much for bringing that perspective to us this morning. So I'm going to hand over the digital mic to you. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit more. I know that there is so much more to you than what I just said. So please, like, introduce yourself to us, like, share the things that I did not cover in the introduction, so that we'll get to know you a bit more. So I handing over the digital mic to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Nancy, for having me. It's an honor to be here and to speak to the people who are joining us today, who find us midway. So it's an absolute pleasure to be here. And just to speak on, relationships. You never know who you meet when you're just starting out your master, the great things that you're doing. So I think you gave me a very good introduction. Like you mentioned, I just graduated last year from the University of Denver and now navigating my professional life here in the US. Besides what I do for work, I truly enjoy being in community and just being around people. And also, I love to be outdoors, outgoing. I'm a social butterfly. So I like to always look for opportunities to connect with people outside of, work environment, because for me, relationships are so important. So I like to continue building those relationships outside of work. I do have a family. I have siblings. I have a brother and an African mother. So you know how growing up in an African household was, and I attribute a lot of who I have become today and to my mom and my late dad also for all of his contributions. So just to tell you, I do not exist solo. I'm also married. This is our 5th year of being married. So yeah, it's a very interesting life journey, and I'm glad to be here.
Wow, thank you so much, Rosepetal. I think the network is breaking. I don't know if it's from my end or if it's from your end. Please let me know if you can hear me clearly.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. That's a very, I mean, I also like have an African mother and an African father, and I grew up in an African household. And I dare say some of us here also like grew up in African households, so we know how that can be, how interesting and intriguing it is to be in that space. Um, Please, I don't know. I think my network is breaking. Do you mind letting me know if you can hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly,
Okay.
but there seems to
Everyone
be
I
a
was,
lag. I,
oh yeah.
I think you're hearing me after a couple of minutes, but I'm hearing you well and clear.
Okay. Everyone else on the call, if you can hear, thank you very much, Alex, for the thumbs up. Yes, that was what I was going to ask. Like, just like give a thumbs up if you can hear clearly. Thanks. Okay. So we're going to delve right into the Q&A, the questions, or rather the prearranged questions that I have for Rosepetal. But I just also wanted to let everyone know that these are prearranged questions. And once we run through the prearranged questions, we'll open it up for question and answer or for comments. You have like comments that you like to drop as well. We'll open it up then. You can raise your hands. We'll unmute you, turn on your video if you like and speak, or you can drop your comments or questions in the chat box, or you can drop them in the Q&A function on Zoom. So we have variety. So Rosepetal, my very first question is I want you to take us back to the beginning. I want to know, like, in the beginning, right? Like, what was the
Mhm.
vision that you have for your life? Because I know that you are a very, very seasoned young professional, and today we want to like learn from your
Mhm.
story. So, what was the
Yes.
vision that you had for your life when moving all the way from Kenya to the US? Coupled with the uncertainties that you had to push through and all the decisions that you had to make. And I know that you have been married for 5 years. I didn't even know that. Congratulations. I always thought it has been like, a few years. Well, I didn't know it was like it has been this
Do I
long.
look
But I
that
know
young? Thank you.
you do. You're still young. I mean, I know your age. Okay. But then, like, I know that you left without your husband. So you came here first, right? And you've been
Yes.
married for
Yes.
then, I
Mhm.
think, maybe 2+ years. And you
Mhm.
came here first. So, like, I want you to like take us to the
Yeah.
beginning. Like, what was your vision, or what was the vision for your life that made you like take that
Mhm.
bold step and all the uncertainties that followed as well?
Okay. Mhm. All right. So if I take you back, I'm taking you back to 2022. That's when I decided that, hey, this, might be a good time to actually go back to school because I graduated from my bachelor's degree in 2019. And so I had been working with a nonprofit back in Kenya, and I absolutely loved the work because we would work with teen moms in the slums. So just giving them some form of education because most of them dropped out of school at like second grade, and they were already moms, so they've not had a life that has been easy. But with this organization, I was part of this project where we were educating them and supporting their entrepreneurial ventures because some of them were doing small businesses just next to their homes just to be able to fend for themselves. So that was a very transformative period for me because sometimes this girls would come to class with their children on their backs, and they were so hungry for knowledge, which some of us, take for granted that you get a chance to go to school. For some of these girls, they didn't have someone to, take them to school or pay for their tuition and stuff like that. So being part of that project just made me want to become more so I could, support communities and just get more skills to be able to um, do more for people like that. And so that's when I decided, hey, maybe I want to further my education just so that I can get more skills, more qualifications to be able to sit in rooms where I can be able to influence decisions or bring perspectives of groups like that into the rooms that discuss funding and opportunities, things like that. And so I decided I'm going to apply to schools. My older sister had come to the US way earlier than I did, and she was that taught, the first person who like lights the way. And she had been telling me how that experience had been for her, and she got a full scholarship, so she was a CFE fellow actually at Cobell. And
Mm.
so her having that first-hand experience was also an inspiration for me. Like, hey, if she's doing this, and this was her second master's program. So that December, the December of 2022, I decided to send out my applications, and I got accepted in 4 schools. The New School in New York, Emory was the first school that actually responded to me. It was so exciting to read those emails and see, oh, you have been accepted, And
Woo.
then I had also Fletcher, that's Tufts University. They also accepted me. And then DU was the last to respond to me. So I was in my head, I was already, my mind was made up for Tufts University in Massachusetts. So I was sure that that's where I was going. I was going to do, I think the program there was called International Affairs. So I was set on going to Massachusetts. But a few weeks to my date of travel, we were kind of like, yes, this is very exciting, but navigating this space, alone is also something. So why don't we think about me moving to Denver since my sister had been in Denver, and then we can figure out, life as I'm in Denver, as we're in Denver together. And so I last minute decided to transfer to Denver, to University of Denver. And that must have been one of the best decisions I ever made. It was a
Yeah.
very last minute choice, but the people, the experiences I've had at DU have been so transformational. I keep asking myself, why did I just like, why wasn't this my first choice,
Right.
But just to tell you, like sometimes things happen in life and you have to make a move real quick, and sometimes you're uncertain, but it turns out to be like a very good choice that you made. So now fast forward, my husband was working at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. That's our biggest international airport at the time. And so we definitely had this conversation before I applied to school, and we were thinking, if this goes through, this is definitely going to change a few things because we are not going to be in the same space, but we were willing to take that shot because we wanted to pivot in life. We wanted to, expand our capacity. And so the plan was I'll come and then he would apply, even though, the visa situation is so unpredictable. But we said, whatever comes, we're going to navigate it together. And just to also say that it's so important to have a partner who can move through transitions with you and who can support your personal development as you also, support their. It's that teamwork becomes everything when you're in a relationship or when you're in a marriage. So because we were on the same page, it was so easy to make decisions and to plan for things together. So fast forward to 2023, my transfer goes through, and I come to the University of Denver, and then I start school that fall. So that flight, it was my first international flight. Oh my goodness. I thought I could get kidnapped. I thought
Oh,
maybe I would miss a flight. There's no one there with you, so you're just thinking of all of the things that could go wrong.
go wrong.
Finding your gate, like it
Oh,
was such a whole new experience for me. So I
what
had to like
airline did you
immediately,
use?
Delta, that's the airline I used, yeah. So I would immediately I get off, I would be running crazy on the in the airport just because I had to take, I think, two or three connecting flights. So I wasn't looking at anyone, and they tell you like carry your bags with you, go to with your bags with you in the bathroom and all of that. So I was on top of things with just making sure like I am following everything to the latter. So thankfully, I traversed all of those seas and all of those, timelines to finally get to Denver. So already that experience had taken me out of my comfort zone. Like, this is my first international travel, and I've actually been able to arrive at my destination without getting lost or them announcing, oh, this person, So that the experience of moving from your home country, whether you like it or not, is going to make you grow up really fast. It's going to take you out of your comfort zone and just push you beyond what you're used to. So that was my experience just moving, and I was going to say, like, throughout that flight I was thinking about, wow, I'm going to start from scratch. Friends, yes, I did have my sister, but still you're losing your I mean you're loosening yourself from ties that have been your ties for more than 20 years, and now you're putting yourself in a new environment, new culture, new everything. But I've always been a risk taker, so I was like, you know what, still I want to do this, and sometimes I think that you need some level of risk taking in life just to ask yourself, like, what could be on the other side for me? And so I had those fears of how is it going to be I'm used to speaking my native language, Swahili, and now I'm going to have to communicate so much in English. Am I really going to be able to do this? So there's all of those fears, and then, oh, what if my husband doesn't get a visa? Like, what does that mean for us, and all of that? So just to say, like, even when we make certain decisions, you're not completely prepared, but still make those decisions. Yeah. I don't know
Regardless.
if I answered your
Oh my gosh,
question conclusively,
you
but
did.
yeah.
You did very conclusively. Oh my gosh. And
Mhm.
it's very amazing listening to you because, like, this is the same thing that the past speakers that we've had on the call have said, but in like different variation and different context and different experiences. But like ultimately boiling down to the same nuggets, to the same learning points. And I'm just going to quickly highlight some of the things that you said that, struck me and that I think is something that we should take moving forward. First of all, you said you found purpose by serving, like, those girls that came to school with babies in their back. Like that was the purpose for you. So as young professionals, like we can find purpose in different things. And one of the things that we can find purpose in is serving. So you have to start applying yourself first. So if you're sitting and you're asking yourself, what is the next step for me? What should I be doing with my life? The next thing to do is to apply yourself. It can be in serving. It can be in a work setting, like in Rosepetal's case. So she was working, and from the work that she was doing, she was exposed. And that was where she found purpose in and said, you know what, I think this is something or a cause that I want to champion, something that I want to, do long term. And she thought about that. But what was unique that you did that I'm very impressed with? And it's the way I also think as well, is you didn't just like say, oh, I want to do that, and then you start, of course there's that, but like you said, the next thing to do is to like, gain knowledge. I want to go and, improve myself so that I can be able to contribute effectively to big rooms when I get into those type of spaces. And that was why you came or decided to come to the US to do a master's in international development. Amazing. Another thing that you said that I think is very, very important for us to highlight is the alignment that you had with your husband. You guys had a conversation that this is what I want to do. And you talked about like you have to like have a partner who is willing to transition with you. And you have to be ready. And like I really like what you said about like the uncertainty. Like you can say your husband or your partner can agree to what you have said, but then there are so many uncertainties, like the visa uncertainties, like even getting admission in the same state that you're currently in. That's also like, I mean, for some people like you're lucky, but for others like me, not so much. Because like I'm married to, and currently my husband is still in Nigeria, and right now they're not even like granting visas at all. So like having that conversation and being willing to like weather the storm, right? So many people look at I'm like, well, you're married. I'm very certain that you must have had people who will make you feel less than and say, oh, stay put, stay with your husband. But like for you, it's very important to have a partner. So as young professionals, whoever you're dating, look at them. Are they willing to transition? Because like right now, is only a very few that have their shit together. Only a very few young professionals that say, oh, this is that are specialized. Right now, we are all generalists, right? And we are all gearing towards specialization because this is the stage of building. This is the stage of finding yourself, finding the things that you're interested in, rediscovering yourself over and over again. So you have not fully gotten to that point where you say, I am a specialist in only this thing in life, right? So you need to find someone or you need to be in spaces with people who are willing to transition as you're navigating, you're coming in and out of like, different competencies. They're also willing to transition with you. I felt like that was very important that you mentioned and I needed to like highlight. Another thing that you said that I really, really love that I've been thinking like I want to like do one of my little blurb video on was like moving and changing environments, even like displaying or describing the airport scene. I also, well, when I was coming to the US, it wasn't my first international travel. My first international travel was to Angola. I got an appointment in Angola, so I had to travel for work, and it was a direct flight from Nigeria, so like just a one-way flight. So it was, and they had like people come pick me up from the airport. They had like placards waiting for me. So, but when I was coming to the US, I was on my own, and I knew that I did not want to like miss any flight. So I used Turkish Airlines, and I only had one connecting flight. And that connecting flight was going to be for 8 hours. So I had 8 hours layover. Guess what I did? Immediately I came down from the first plane. I went straight to my gate and I slept in
Yeah.
that gate for 8 hours. I didn't even
Well,
know that I had
as you should have.
opportunity for a hotel. They could have put me in a hotel, right? So
I know.
that's just
I
like a
know.
funny story. But like what you said after that is very, very important and very integral.
Mhm.
When you said that people should know that changing environment builds you. So it doesn't have to be like changing country. It could just be you as a young professional. Maybe you're in Kenya, you move from Nairobi to say, I don't know
Yes.
any other place in Kenya. I was going to like reference
Kisumu.
the sumo. Like you change from state to state, or you change
Yeah.
from this neighborhood to another neighborhood. It really, really works. And I'm going to do a separate video on that because it broadens your horizon as far as your eyes can see. Right, that's what the Bible says. As far as your eyes can see, where can so if your eyes is only limited to your environment, that's the only thing that you can see. But when you intentionally expose yourself as far as your eyes can see, even right now, like in my office, like there was an opportunity to travel. And even though the ticket was paid for, and I'm going to go on this trip this month, even though the ticket was paid for, hotel was paid for, I had to pay for my own way, for my airfare and pay for my food and pay for my transportation within the town. And then I asked myself, do I want to go? Why should I? One thing came to my mind, like, Nancy, as far as your eyes can see, this is going to be a business forum. People are going to be there, right? These are industry experts. You don't have anything to offer right now, or you don't like, these are people who are coming to exchange and give. I am like a service provider right now. I don't like have a business that I'm coming to pitch to you for us to partner, right? So if I'm going to speak to any potential investor or any business person in that conference, it's going to be me pitching to like be hired because I'm a service provider. I have like my skills that I'm bringing to the table. So I said to myself, well, you might not really get anything tangible out of this conference, but what you would get is exposure. You are there, you are in that room, and it's how I like motivate myself when I'm making decisions. Like just go there, just be there. So the point that I trying to highlight that you made is change environment. It doesn't have to be country to country. It can be state to state. It can be like even going for things, things that you ordinarily say, well, there's no benefit. Go so that your eyes can capture it. You might not know that your brain has registered it, but it has registered it and it's very beneficial in the long run. So I think that's like a very good segue, like talking about like being in spaces, being in rooms. It's a
Mhm.
very good segue to
Mhm.
the next question that we have here for you, Rosepetal. And that is like how you, as an African, have been able to like navigate these type of spaces, like navigate spaces like workspaces, school environments
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
US. Because like a lot of young
Mhm.
professionals also like find this challenging, like how do they carry
Mhm.
themselves in a new room in an
Mhm.
unfamiliar place. Like even the example I was referencing earlier, like being in a conference, like how do you carry yourself? And for you as an African, how do you carry yourself in spaces that might not always, reflect you or reflect the um uniqueness that you bring that is you,
Mhm.
and what part of yourself have you had to hold on to very intentionally to say, I'm not going to allow this space dilute me.
Okay, so I did my undergraduate studies in anthropology, and there's a unit in anthropology that we had to take. It's called cultural anthropology. And for those who don't know, anthropology is just it's the study of human society. So everything regarding human society, why this group of people do things in a certain way and why these people don't. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's what anthropology is about. It has aspects of archaeology to it and a lot of history also. But cultural anthropology is where I learned that all across the world, people have different cultures, right? And so me moving to a new place means I'm going to be exposed to a new culture, a new set of norms, and I need to understand why people do these things this way. Similar to back home, we have cultures, we have different tribes within our country. We have smaller tribes, and they have their own culture. So coming into a new country, you have to understand that there's a set of norms that exist there, and to make it easier for you, it's better for you to learn them and understand them than try to bring what you know from home and think that it will automatically work in this new space. So this was me applying my cultural anthropology and learning this new culture again. And I'm going to try not to go way too off of our question. So how I have been navigating these spaces as an African. First of all, my first culture shock was in trains and buses, people are not so chatty as opposed to back home. Back home, you would talk to the driver of the bus or the whatever means of transport all the way until you get home, and you have someone who's collecting bus fare, like like, or even your seatmate, you would get into a conversation. There's so much to talk about. There's chatter in the bus, but here everyone was in their headphones or like in their AirPods. So first of all, I'm like, okay, no one wants to talk, you know. And I'm coming from back home where like the train is a chance to meet someone and have a good conversation, and maybe you'll meet sometime later. And so I have learned to really understand the culture here, and not to say this culture is better than the other or these norms are better than the other, but I've just learned to adjust to this new environment. And I tell myself all the time that I have a lot to bring to the table, right? Instead of allowing yourself to feel intimidated, it can be intimidating to be in a new space. Either way, someone moving from the US back to an African country or anywhere you go, because it's new, it can be intimidating, and you might be tempted to fall back into this shell where you're just playing it safe, and you want to be seen and not heard and things like that. But I, from the onset, told myself that, hey, I have so much experience from my home country. I've been working in my home country. And so I am going to take this master's degree because I'm pivoting career-wise. So I have professional experience. I have had my bachelor's degree. So I have a lot to offer, but I also have a lot to learn. So I'm here to learn from other people. And I'm also here to offer all of my cards because we come from different places. We bring a lot of experience and different experience on the table. So one thing I always tell myself is that, Petal, you have a lot to offer. And Petal, you also have a lot to learn. So when it's chances for you to speak, one thing I also love about the culture here in the US is that you learn to be confident in your abilities and to speak about your achievements. It's not pride, it's just laying your cards on the table. And that's something that, coming from my home country, I didn't easily have, because you're taught to, be humble and, just don't talk about yourself too much. But people here talk about what they do, And so I have learned to, sometimes you'll have 2 minutes to pitch. Sometimes you go to interviews and they want to know, what have you done? So if you cannot articulate what you can do for that organization, then chances are that you'll give away that chance to show people what you've actually done. And you do it in a very professional way. And you have your track record on and all of that. And so I take some of what I carried from home, and I take also what I'm learning here, and I kind of combine that together and use that to my advantage and use that as I navigate these spaces. So I see my African identity as a plus. It's not a minus, because I'm bringing my experience to the table, right? If we all had a similar experience, similar background, none of us would ever have known, okay, what is it to live on the east side or the west side, So your experience and your background is your advantage. It's not your disadvantage. So carry it with pride, but also give yourself room to learn from others, and let your background be the reason why you appreciate other people's cultures. So I have from all over the world. If I had never left my home country, I would not have had those networks. And I appreciate where they come from, because there are things that are similar, there are things that are different. So I always tell myself that I have a lot to bring to the table, and I also enter spaces wanting to learn and having a curious mind, like, what's in this for me and what can I offer in this space? So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really like what you said about like, being willing to learn and not like, trying to like impose like what you already know in a new environment, but like being open to learning what they have and also being willing to like offer. I have a follow-up question for this. And
Yes.
this goes back to the theme for today's webinar. When you say willing to learn, as an African, like, or even like any new person, like you said, who is like just joining a new organization, moving to a new state, navigating a new work environment, or navigating a new country, there is always that imposter syndrome. Right. I want, and you talked about like, if people have like maybe 2 minutes, they give you 2 minutes to like introduce yourself. So you should be able to
Mhm.
like, have like something to say. So I want us to bring it back down to like the execution. Like for you, what are the things like
Yes.
practically, what are the things that you did
Mhm.
that helped you
Mhm.
navigate? I know you talked about learning, but like
Mhm.
breaking it down to say, oh, this was how I ended up like learning, or this was how I navigated. This is what my portfolio is right now. If I wanted to do an elevator pitch, these are the one, two, three things I must say or I will say. So like we can also like know
Mhm.
how to apply that to our lives as
Yes.
well. Like
Yes.
so we
Yes.
still learn, but like how do you
Mhm.
learn? Things like
Mhm. Okay. So I'd say sometimes confidence is 80% of what you need to bring. So I have had to learn how to express myself confidently, even though sometimes, your accent will show up, it's there, right? But still express yourself and still communicate your full sentence. Even when you have to take a pause, just take that pause and continue communicating what you need to say. Do not feel like that accent is a setback. It's part of who you are. So just own who you are and show up in spaces confidently. Practice if you need to. Practice writing in bullet points. Practice your speech. If you have a group presentation the next day and you know that confidence is something that doesn't come naturally to you, do it with a friend. Grab a friend after class and say, "Oh, tomorrow I have a presentation. Can you just tell me, give me feedback about my presentation skills and do a quick presentation as much as you can." In this culture, I have learned to focus on the things that you were asked. Like back home, we will do a greeting of like 40 minutes and
that.
everybody has time. But here, time is money. So people just want to hear what is it that you're saying to us, right? So learning how to be very concise in your communication is something that I have learned and that has really helped me. And also interpersonal skills. This is something that many people overlook. The way you relate to colleagues, the way you relate to people, just the common mannerisms of saying hello, saying thank you, saying owning up to your mistakes, taking responsibility, accountability. There are people who've made it, and I've also had opportunities myself just because of interpersonal skills. You might not have the qualifications per se, but just because you're pleasant in your interactions with people, people will always mention your name in rooms, right? Like for the office that I worked at Cobel, I was also a student leader, and sometimes I had to step out for some of my leadership roles. And because every time I was at work, I made sure that I was giving value. When I had to ask to step away for a meeting, none of my supervisors ever said, no, you cannot go, because every time that you're in the office, you're giving your best, and so when you need to ask for timeout or when you need to just request to step out, they will gladly give that to you because they've seen that you bring a lot of value. Not to say that you can abuse that, relationship, but sometimes those interpersonal skills, even though you do not have the qualifications, will take you way further and will keep you at a job because you've learned how to relate with people. You've learned when to speak up, when to not, and how to even speak up when you need to. So I would say that interpersonal skills, every professional should strive to have good interpersonal skills with your communications. If you've been in a place where people maybe have raised complaints about the way you speak or the way you handle confrontation, that's feedback you're getting. on how to improve yourself. Sometimes we want to criticize and say, oh, these people just don't like me, blah, blah, blah. But if something is repetitive, that's feedback you're getting. And that's how you grow as a professional. Listen to all of the feedback. If you hear someone saying, oh, we're a bit late, and you're the one who came late to that meeting, that's feedback they're giving you. So as you grow as a professional, keep your ears open to the feedback you're receiving, because once you incorporate that feedback, then you know that you're going to stay in places longer, because that feedback is supposed to help you get better.
Yeah, thank you so much. Those are really, really great practical steps. And in addition to that as well, I would also just say ask questions. Another way to learn is to ask questions. If you find yourself in a new environment, you find yourself in a new country, you find yourself in a new office, a new state, ask questions. The society rewards those who ask. Some people think, oh, if you ask questions, it makes you look like a fool or it makes you look like you're incompetent. But no, it's actually the very competent people that ask questions. Sample this opinion when you sit with like real big world leaders like the Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, or even the local ones that you have close to you, like say in Nigeria, Okonjo Iweala, and you're telling them something. They're always asking you, so what is this? What is this? They're always asking questions because that is how they can contribute to the conversation. That is context that they are getting. So as a
Mhm.
young professional, you find yourself in any new space, ask questions, right? And ask calculated and intelligent questions, right? And read up,
Right.
right? Always,
Mhm.
always educate yourself. So if you find yourself in a new office and you just like started the job, read up about it, like about like the projects that they're handling, the clients, the portfolios. That's the midnight candle that you're burning. Read. And also, like Rosepetal said, leverage your skills, right? Do not downplay your competencies. Do not think, oh, because I'm coming from this place, I don't think it's worthy. Mm-mm. So if you find yourself in a 30 minutes elevator speech, what you should be saying are the things that you have done, whether or not you think it is insignificant. But they want to see that you are active. People want to see that you are already doing something, right? So that is what you should leverage until such a time that you build more competency in that new space, right? So never look down on any little achievement or any, maybe for example the work that you did in Kenya, in Nairobi, like working with the NGO. That is a good skill. It is not the same as what you're doing right now in Colorado African Chamber of Commerce. So there might be people who say, well, if I want to like talk about my skills, oh, I don't want to talk about the work I did in Nairobi. That is a very, very good experience that you should leverage, right? And every other thing that Rose Petal has said, be confident, like listen to
Nancy, if
feedback.
I can just add to what you said,
Mhm.
the bit about questions, I cannot overemphasize that. Um, Sometimes we want to show that we are competent and we want to show that we are up to task. And by all means, we should always show that we're up to task. But at the same time, making sure you completely understand what is being asked of you is number one to making sure that you're successful in that project. So get a project or get a challenge, look at it, make sure you've done your research. And still, if you're unsure, go back to your supervisor or go back to whoever has handed you that assignment and ask, I just want to make sure that this are the deliverables. One, two, three, or even mention like I have done my research and this is the approach I would like to take with this project. Of course, use discernment, know when to ask and all of that, but go back to them and say, I just want to make sure that, these are the deliverables, just to make sure that you're not working counterproductively, working so hard, yet you're not hitting the thing that they asked of you. Because to be honest with you, in the workspace, people just want to see the results, right? Results, results, results. You cannot argue with results. Results sometimes is the reason why some people keep their jobs and others don't, just the results. So you want to make sure that you're being completely productive. And one way to make sure that you're doing that is to prioritize the tasks that mean a lot for the organization in that moment, or mean the most for the person that you're working with or for the company that you're working with in that moment. So ask those questions and make sure that you understand the assignment that's being required of you, or the tasks that is being required of you.
Yeah, so true. And just one more thing on this point before we move on from it, not to overflog it, is also document. So another thing to do as a young professional is to always document whatever projects that you have done, whether it is in a formal setting, an informal setting, document. Now, this is like building a portfolio. A lot of people say, well, I don't have you can use Canva to build your portfolio. There are other sites that you can use to build portfolio. But if you do not have that, especially maybe if you have one and then like updating it all the time is cumbersome, what you should do is on your Gmail, go to your drive, open a new folder. And when I say Gmail, I'm very specific because this is something that you can take with you anywhere. Open a drive and whatever documents, let's say you did a research and the research was published, or even if it was not published, but like the research came out really good, store that information on that folder in your drive. And then you work in an organization and you guys completed something, document what you did, what you learned, the skills that you use, write a short one pager and save it in that drive until such a time when you decide to build a full-on portfolio, because you would forget. A lot of people think, oh, I will remember, you would forget. So make sure that you document, and the strategy to documentation is what was the task at hand. I think I've mentioned this in one of my previous videos using the STAR method. What was the situation? What was the task? What was the action? And what was the result? The situation was, oh, this is what we are trying to achieve. The task is, this is what I'm doing. The action is, this is the skills that I use. I use PowerPoint. I use Tableau. I use this to develop this, and this is the result. So document that and leave it there. When the time comes for you to read through the things that you have done, maybe, oh, you have like meetings with like big people and you want to like pitch yourself, go to that drive, go to that folder and fish out the necessary and important ones and then use it for yourself. So I don't want to like overflog this point. Thank you so much, Rosepetal, for that response. It was very, very practical. And I feel like it's a very good segue into the next question that we have. Because now we will see you that you're into fashion. You just finished your master's degree, you're currently working, you're married, you're doing so much, right? And those type of things can like lead to burnout. So the question is, how do you schedule, like how do you manage all those different parts of you to the point that you are still showing up and showing out for each individual actions without burning out? So like how do you do it day to day? So we want you to like give us like your day-to-day routine, your day-to-day practical steps that you take to manage all those facets of your life.
Mhm. Okay. So first of all, I like to prioritize what tasks in this season of my life, or what things in this season of my life need the most of my attention. So talking about day to day, I wake up in the morning. I'll not tell you what time because I don't want to be judged. But I exercise. So my exercises usually take 30 to 40 minutes because my health is a priority. I saw Alex laughing there. So exercise for me and taking care of my body is a big priority for me, even before work, because I can only be productive at work if, I'm in a very healthy state. So I'll exercise in the morning and then I'll get myself ready to work. And to your surprise, I also actually find time to read in the morning. So I will wake up and I will read. And then once I'm done reading, I will take my exercises, or I will exercise and then I will read. And then I will get to work. So my working time is from 9 a.m. So you can guess what time I wake up. So I like to read a lot. And I just recently got my library card from Denver Public Library. There's one that's just 9 minutes away from me. So I challenge myself to read 4 books every month. Sometimes I'm only able to read two, but that reading and exercising the ability to read and interact with information for me is a way that I'm adding value to myself, or I'm developing myself. So that's my morning. And then I get to work, and my work hours are 9 to 5 p.m. So after that, interestingly, I audited my what my time late December, last year, late December, and I was able to see where every hour of my day goes. And I realized, wait, in the evening, sometimes we have actually so much time that just goes because we've not scheduled
Structured.
things for that time, right? By all means, schedule rest because after work, it's a lot to be in a work environment 8 to 5. But if you're building something, if you're building a hobby, after 5, that's the time that you can actually build that. So after 5 to about 10 p.m., 11 p.m., that's about the time I sleep. I've scheduled time for dinner. If I showed you my calendar, it has all this red, orange, yellow codes. So I get reminders, gym time, I get reminders, reading time, and all of that. It's not meant for you to be like a robot, or it's not meant for you to actually follow through every day, but having structure to your days actually helps you achieve goals, because even if I didn't make it to the gym today, like your mind is conditioned to my day running this kind of way. And I realized that in the evenings, I could actually use that time, sometimes to read more or sometimes, and I still have time to relax. It's not like I get myself out of work and then I'm working again. No, sometimes I just schedule 30 minutes to edit some of my videos, which I recorded over the weekend, right? So once you take an audit of your life, and you can tell where every hour of your day goes, then you're able to see, oh, wait, I have this block of time where maybe if it's scheduling personal development for this 1 hour, I can do that here, or scheduling prayer time. And then we have a tradition at home. 9 p.m. is like our Bible study time. So 9 to 9:30 every single day, everything will go off in the house and we'll take time to study the word of God. So I'm just telling you that it's so possible to actually have structure within your day. And this is someone who I was so spontaneous. Like I would be the kind of person, oh, I wake up today and I will do whatever comes within that day. But being in professional spaces and actually having, long-term goals has taught me that I can't just be spontaneous. I have to bring structure into my day-to-day life. And having that structure is what helps me know, or helps me have the ability to contribute to all of these things because I have scheduled times. And every single day for my work day, the night before, someone said that a successful day is prepared the night before. So this is my work notebook, and I write my items of the things that I want to do the next day. It's a bit bright, so you'll not be able to see. Sometimes I have a list of 13 items to do at work. But you know how that helps? Once I sit by my laptop, I'm taking out all of those items, and day by day, I prioritize. Like recently, we just had a big annual event. And so before events, it's a lot of things that you have to do without having somewhere to even write down the goals that you have for that day. You're not going to be able to be on top of. You can't trust your memory at this age. I'm not too old, but I just can't trust my memory to remember all those things. So the night before, I will write down all of the things that I need to do tomorrow for work. And then if I have additional time, then I'll pull in some of the deliverables or some of the tasks from that are required way later. I will start to work on them after I've finished the prioritizing. So that helps me because at the end of the day, when I can see my to-do list is all checked, it gives me confidence, like I did everything that I wanted to do. So that's even a way that you can boost your own confidence when you can follow through those little commitments and those tasks that you do. You gain so much confidence. Like if this was a 13-day to-do list day and I did it, even if I had a 20 to-do list day, I could do it. I could get through half of it and do the half of it the other day. But just realizing how valuable time is and how much having structure can make you utilize time is a strategy that I have found is very, very helpful.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. There's nothing to add here because this is exactly what I do as well. I'm just also going to like share a funny story. Me, when I also like structure myself, like I have to do for myself, and then I have to do when I get to the office. Like when I get to the office today after the team meeting, I have my to do and I write it on a sticky note and I put it in front of my laptop. So I'm seeing it. And I also like take out. And then when I'm not in the office, like for my own life, like, oh, schedule the YPN. Oh, post on Instagram, post on social media. Like I also like take those to dos. But the funny story is, yes, was see, and I also allot time. And that thing that you said is so true because like once you have gotten through all the whole to dos that you have, like, woo, I can do anything I want now. It's like you're rewarding yourself. But one time for me, or most times, maybe I allot 1 hour to a task and I finish it in like 30 minutes. Naturally, you're like, you know what? This is extra 30 minutes. Continue. I'm like, no, I did allot 1 hour to this task. And so this other extra
Mm,
30 minutes that I have
yeah.
now, I'm going to use it to like doom scroll on Instagram.
Mm,
This is just to say it is your life. You can actually bite so much. You can actually, right now, I do feel like as young professionals, this is the prime of your life. This is when you're trying new things, you're experiencing new things, you're doing so much. You can do it. And the best way to do that is to schedule, like Rosepetal has given us today, to schedule, right? So that you know what you're doing per time, per day, per month, per week, per year, per 5 years, per 10 years, right? So you are always in line and in sync. And you know what it does to you? Writing down it to do in front of your desk every morning signals your brain, even if you don't do it that day, your brain reminds you that remember you didn't do this that you said you were going to do prior. We have someone raise their hand. Alex, I'm going to unmute you now and allow you ask your question. Please go ahead.
Hello. Really good advice here. Overall, I mean, it's really making me think about how to create a schedule and be
Do you want to turn
structured.
on your video? Do you mind?
Oh, sure. Let me do that. Okay. Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Um, just wanted to follow up on this to Rose Petal and Nancy. I was wondering how this structure can help with burnout, specifically as a young professional when you have a lot of projects
mhm.
going on,
Yeah.
as well as allowing for rest to be a part
Yes.
of it. So I just wanted
Yes.
to get your both of your advice on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you,
And
Alex.
that's thank you, Alex. And it's nice to see you again. Alex and I were classmates for some courses that we took at Cobel. So first of all, like I never schedule anything for my weekend because that's my time to refresh. I sometimes stay in bed way longer over the weekends because I also know that me getting all of that rest is very important. And so the after work, so I'm going to talk about after work because 9 to 5, those are what you're mostly, the work hours or school hours. But 5 to like 8 p.m., 5 to 10 p.m., that's my time. So I can do with it whatever I want. I can decide, I'm not doing anything today. I just want to, rest and not do anything is fine. But because I have some hobbies that I want to build or some interests, that's why I will schedule an hour for this or edit this video and all of that. And one thing that I do also is to go to bed at the same time every day. So I try to get 8 hours of sleep. I will go to bed at like 10 p.m. Sometimes I don't get the 8 hours, right? So when I say these things, it's not like my life runs like this every day, but I like to remind myself this is the structure that we created to protect ourselves, to be productive, to get that rest, And I completely emphasize like making sure that you're taking rest. And after long, like for example, we just had that annual event at work. It's the week before I had been sleeping sometimes 5 hours, 6 hours, just to kind of make sure we were up to task. And then the week after, I reminded myself, let's go back to the way things are. So, because sometimes, even in your professional journey, there are times that will require more of you, even as a student. Like there are times that an assignment will require you to stay up. It's beyond your
Mm-hmm.
control, but immediately you get that out, go back to
Back to your shift.
that structure that you've built for yourself for that's healthy, right? And some hobbies are relaxing, like if you're working with your hands and all of that. And I consider myself a high achiever. Like I like to go in with things and let's get things done. But sometimes it can work against you because you don't think about rest. You think about, I need to do this to my best ability. But think about rest as also a contribution to your productivity, right?
Rest
Because
is work.
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because sometimes, even if you say, like, most CEOs will not have a huge meeting after 4 p.m. because naturally people's brains are exhausted at that time. So even you, just making sure that you also know your cues and what are your most productive hours of a day. For some people, it's like 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. So schedule those hard tasks for that time. And that's what I try to do also. At 9 a.m. work, I put my heaviest tasks when my mind is ready. And so all of the other ones that, don't require so much, fortitude from days.
Um, I don't know if anyone can hear me or if
I
um
can I can hear you.
oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Oh, thank you so much. I think we were having like a bit of an internet glitch. So thank you so much, Rosepetal, for that response. I don't know if there's anything for me to add, except to just say everything that you said spot on, and highlighting, like, young professionals engaged in different projects. Like I always say, now you have the time. Once you are, like, say, 40 years old, 45 years old, you're not going to have the same time or the same energy that you have now. So right now, if you have something that you're passionate about that you want to build, now is the time to build it. But guess what? That does not mean you should quit your job until such a time when that scaffold becomes the main source of income that you have. So you can actually be working and be building something. And guess what? Be going to school, like doing a master's program. But what Rose Petal is telling us is today is how to be able to function fully in those big tasks. Because, like, going to school alone, like maybe doing a master's program or a postgraduate diploma, is already a whole task. And then having to go to work a 9 to 5, is also a whole task. And then having to build something as an entrepreneur is already a whole task. So those three things are very, very broad. Some people will tell you pick one and stick with it. Others will tell you, like me, I would say you can actually do it. And if you're going to even be able to do it, now is the time that you can do it. Because, like, once you're 45, you will not have the same energy. But then how do you do it? How do you make sure that that works and you're able to, like, function fully and still not burn out? It is structure. And guess what? Like you said, Rosepetal, for me, I see rest as a part of work. So if I have a to do for today, and I finish my to do, I'm going to schedule within that to do rest time in between. Even let's say the day that I'm not going to the office in person, like I'm home, right? And I have my to dos that I'm going to do for that day. In between, I'm going to, like, put pockets of hours, like maybe 30 minutes. And if I finish a task on time, I'm not going to say, oh, let me rush into the next task. I'm like, oh, well, I did allot 1 hour to this task and I finished it in 30 minutes. I have 30 minutes of rest time, right? So that's what I was trying to say with the earlier points that I made. So everything that Rose Petal said
Mhm.
is spot on.
Before we
And
before we close that thought, Nancy, I also just want to add that sometimes we feel like we need to add more things to our day-to-day
schedule.
schedules and
Mhm.
everything. But I think that a good strategy is to remove many things because you might find yourself or giving your time and energy to things that if you look 5 years from now, you don't even want to be doing them, or things that they are not going to add value to who you want to be because at the end of the day, you only have 24 hours. Part of that time should be you resting. And so your productivity hours are maybe 8 to around 12. And so you need to see your time as something that's very valuable. So then put it into tasks that in 10 years, in 5 years, I have had to make trade-offs, right? There's so many things I love to do, but I can't do them all right now. So I'm going to do the things that I know 10 years from now, I still want to be doing these things. Okay. So if you do not fit into these things that I want to do, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to give you so much priority. I'm going to, yes, when I have my extra time and I can do it, I will do it then. But instead of adding things to our schedules, why don't we remove some of the things that we do? And I also want to talk about something that young professionals, we really like to volunteer and to do it all, but sometimes you have a specific goal. Volunteer in the line of your goal, right? Yes, it's good to volunteer. Yes, it's good to be in all spaces, but do it in the line that you want to grow. That way, you're taking, you're auditing your time into the direction that you want to go. And so that you don't feel burnt out, say no, have boundaries even with work. Say, these are my work hours. After 5, listen, after 5, this laptop, I slam it. Yeah? I slam it not because I do not care about my work, but because I understand that I need to have a work-life balance. And if you don't set that, nobody will set it for you. People will feel it's okay to reach out to you at 8 p.m. It's okay to reach out. Oh, call Nancy at 9. She will be always available. And you're always going to take on those things. And then you're going to realize 20 years that you worked almost 80 hours every week and nobody ever paid you for the 80 hours. It's fine if you love what you do, but I will always advocate for having boundaries with your work, and let it be known that you're that colleague who will be available 8 to 5. After that, unless it's like an emergency or we all have this meeting where we say that we have to do this project together, it seems like a good thing to always be available, but clearly it's not. So have those boundaries with work. You don't have to attend every gathering and everything. Just because you have time and it's limited, focus on the things that are building your career path or are actually the things that will matter to you 10 years from
In the
now.
long
So
run.
yeah, so do it all, yes, but do it within where you're wanting to
With
build. For
strategy.
example, if I
I think
said, oh, I want to, sorry, Nancy, if I said, oh, I want to volunteer for the swim team, my swim skills are not even that good, so I go volunteer to be a lifeguard. I don't even have experience being a lifeguard. Swimming doesn't really, like, I don't care about it so much. And then, like, I could have used that time for something that will actually
productive.
mean something 10 years from now.
Yeah, and I think what you just said quickly, this thing that you said is like the crux, is the hallmark of what we should be talking about. So this is like what is supposed to come before even like talking about like structure, because like you have to have a vision, you have to have like a goal for your life. This is what will help you make decisions, right? So you have to know that, oh, this is what I want to do, or this is what I want out of my life in the future. It might change as you move along the way, but as of now, in this moment, this is what I want out of my life. Now, once you have decided that, the next thing is you start to structure your life towards that path. This is what will help you say no to things. For example, if someone were to tell you, oh, come to the swimming, you know that this is not in line with your goal, right? So you say no. But if someone were to say, oh, come to this business event or come to this place, and you know that this is in line with your goal, and this is in line with the trajectory that you want to take for your life, then it helps you make that decision to say whether or not you want to do this. So the first thing is to determine what you like right now, right? As we're evolving in life, especially as young professionals, we are in the journey. We're still on the journey of like getting to our destination. You're going to like have interests that are going to you might lose interest in them along the way. You might continue in the same path up until like you retire from your career. But like the bottom line is today, right now, in this moment, what you're doing, is this something that you think would be beneficial to you in the long run? If yes, fire on. If no, say no to that particular thing. And then when you do say yes, and it's looking like a lot, this is what Rosepetal is saying. This is how you structure to the point where you can be effective in the things that you're doing and not burn out. I'm also going to quickly apologize that the conversation, especially when we are having such like sweet conversations, I'm learning a lot. We almost like go over time. So I'm just going to like ask one more question to Rose Petal, and then I'll open it up to like Q&A or to comments. In the meantime, if you have comments or if you have questions, please, you can either raise your hand like Alex did, and we'll unmute you to speak. Or you can use the Q&A function on Zoom, or you can put your questions in the chat box. There's so much to unpack in this video, and I would just like encourage everyone that once we upload this session on YouTube, to please go back and rewatch it. There's so many nuggets to be taken from this conversation. So, Rosepetal, my last question is going to be a hybrid question. Because this is like I want other people to have opportunity to speak as well. The last question is: we see you show up like in your fashion. I want to talk about like your fashion, like that you do. Like it's very unique, and you're very into fashion, and you've been into fashion for a very long time, and it's a very very big part of your identity. So I want you to talk about place for you in your life and work behind being consistent in showing up in that regard. Sometimes I see your post at 2 a.m. Like, wow. Sometimes I see your post at like, do you target it like, oh, do you schedule it to drop at that time? Or are you awake posting at that time? So things like that and the tools that you use to like schedule those type of posts as well. I just want you to like, take us through like that unique part of yourself, which is very different from you working as a strategic operations manager in the African Chamber of Commerce. Now you doing like fashion and very big in fashion.
Okay. So before I say that, I just want to recommend a book. It's called Essentialism. I forget the author, but that book really helped me see the value of prioritizing tasks and, don't give your time to everything because then you end up not getting return on investment for your time. So if you get a chance, please read that book. He also talks about a certain CEO who schedules 1 hour every day to think. Like he doesn't do anything, just think to generate new ideas. And through that, they were able to like follow with some of those ideas and build even better, So having play as part of your work schedule and having, time to think, even if it's 30 minutes, you're not doing anything, you're just thinking, sometimes also helps you restructure and take a step back out of your life so you can see the direction that you're going. So let's talk about fashion. So I have always been interested in fashion ever since, just before my undergraduate studies. And so fashion has been a big part of me. For me, fashion is my escape, because it gives me an opportunity to express my creativity and to escape from the craziness of this world, because this world can sometimes get so crazy, And so fashion gives me a sense of, like a new identity, and I can be someone totally new besides what, people know me for at work. And I've had moments in my life because I really love the creative space, and I'm a creative. I like to create content and to be in spaces where it's full of creatives and people just doing creative stuff. So I've had moments in my life where I've had that tug of war, like go creative world completely or stay in the corporate world. So I've always had those tug of wars. And I'm like, if I give myself entirely to, the creative space, what about the impact that I would have had in the corporate space and in the nonprofit space? Or if I give myself only to this way, then I will not be true to myself, because fashion is so much a part of me. At a point of my life, I worked as a professional makeup artist. And I loved that part of doing that work. I still do that sometimes, just as something that I've naturally grown to love, and I build skills around that, because you need survival skills in this life, just in case anything happens. You need to be able to pivot, or if I was moved to a new country, I know that I would have skills that I could turn into a venture, and make some money for myself. So fashion for me is the space where I get to be myself, express myself. I make the rules. If I say yellow and purple go together, I will show you how it will work, And so that's a part of me that I'm not willing to let go of. And I try to incorporate it even with my work schedule. Now I know to show up in certain outfits at work. Like I curate my work wardrobe, because that helps me feel more confident and represent my organization in meetings and, where I have to go. People can see the way that you present yourself, because I believe sometimes you'll never get a chance to say your story. And some people will judge you just by the way you show up. It's unfortunate, but some people will listen to you more because, oh, this person showed up like this. And I don't even mean fancy, expensive clothes and stuff like that, but just putting yourself together well. Sometimes becomes that image that people have. And I'm one person who's also very into like your personal image is sometimes your very biggest currency, the way you present yourself. And that's why I also talked about interpersonal skills, because those things speak for you in rooms that you can speak for yourself. Right. And so I don't know where this will go with fashion and this content. For now, I'm just doing it as a way to, sometimes give myself that work-life balance. And weekends, I'm not going to want to sleep the whole weekend. So that's what I do in the weekend. I like put all this outfit and I help women also, have a colorful outfit and know how to match colors and show up in the workplace in a way that's interesting. So because life is never going to slow down, how about we find ways to make our day-to-day lives interesting? And for me, clothes is a big part of how I wake up and I decide I'm going to wear this, I'm going to wear this color. It just makes me be able to go through that day with confidence and, reminding myself of my identity. So I do not have like a solid plan of where this is going to go, because at the same time, the fashion and the creative world is really broad. You can be a designer, you can be like a stylist, and there's all of that. So for now, because I'm building my career also this way, I'm just using my extra time to build my creative interests. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I do not see any question in the chat box or anyone raise their hands. So while I encourage everyone who have questions to please do that, I'm going to quickly chip in a follow-up question for this. So like what I hear you say is you do your fashion. Like I see you curate some, like you said, you can make purple and pink or yellow and green go. And it does go. Like I also like the way you put
Thank
the
you.
tone. And like, yes, I'm like, well, yeah, that would work, But like I'm just very curious to know like the balance, like how you're able to like do that fully, still do your 9 to 5. I mean, I already hear you say so you do that on the weekends, right? So you curate those things on the weekend and then you post them on the weekends as well. Whereas your weekdays, you leave it specifically for work. So like so like when your post goes out by 2 a.m., is it like it's been scheduled or are you
No,
awake? So like let me like
chances are.
know the practical steps, like the
Mhm.
like the tools, like do you have like say
Mhm.
scheduling tools like
Okay.
you use
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
to make that work and make it very efficient? We see you show up fully and
Mhm.
completely in your professional life. We see you show up fully and completely in your fashion. And I was also going to
Mhm.
talk about like your marriage as well. We
Mhm.
see you show up fully and completely in that regard as well. Like what are like the tools that you put in place or like
Okay.
the systems that you have built
So,
around yourself for doing?
so as far as content, when I have like 5 hours or 4 hours in a day, in a weekend, I will have probably put out those outfits during the week. So any block of time I get after work, I'll start, putting together what I'll use for that content. So I batch create. So sometimes you'll find one weekend I've created content that's enough for the whole month, right? I have outfits. I have almost like maybe like 20 outfits, and it's something I love to do. So for me, it doesn't feel like work when I'm standing in front of the camera for like 4 hours. So I will have those ideas. I will write them down. I have a notebook for like my content. So I plan out my content. And then the day of shoot, I make sure that I have hyped myself up. I have taken Fanta. I have all of the sugar and energy, and then I get to work because I say, 5 hours Saturday, that's enough of time. That's enough time for me to get content that's going to be enough for a month. But sometimes I do it every weekend because I just love it. So
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like work. And when you love something, you just find a way to, you
Make it
create time
work.
for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes even after work, I have like transition from work and put up my camera, and sometimes you want to do something on the go. So I always give room for that spontaneity, but I schedule every week like a block of 4-5 hours to be able to do that content. And then like I said, those times during the day, during the week after work, when I have like a block of 30 minutes, I'm able to edit. I also schedule like I know I have a posting schedule. Like I know 3 videos in a week and 2 solid posts, or sometimes, so that structure, I just maintain it. Like I know I have to do 2 videos and I have to do 2 static posts. So then I don't have to always think about, because we spend a lot of time thinking even about what to wear the next day. And if you can cut that decision making time, oh, should I post this? Should I post that? Like you've already created that structure. For me, what I can manage right now is 2 videos and 2 posts. And so every week you schedule time, or you make time over the weekend to like create captions and things like that. So that during the week it's just putting out posts. And because I have a huge audience back home, I try to post sometimes in times that align to my audience back at home, and also time here. So that's why sometimes I'll post at 11:30 just before I go to bed, because that's when people at home are like waking up. Or sometimes I will post like at 5 p.m. our time here, because that's when like people are getting off of work. So it's just learning, those tricks. I don't schedule my posts. Every post that I just write it and I send it at the time. But I've found a way, because again, I've been doing content for over 10 years now. Yeah, over 10 years now. And so there's some things that I've just built in within me that don't take me too much time, because I know, like, this is how I can edit. I've built those editing skills already. And so it doesn't take me so much time to know the style of, and then I don't try to experiment too much. Like if this is a style that's working, let's just go with that style, So cutting down that decision making time for me allows me to have more time to actually create the content and edit the content. As far as just navigating marriage and being present professionally, my husband is also currently pursuing his degree in nursing. So yeah, we are a whole lot of busy, but we like to come. Every time we're back home, we're like, feels good to be back home, because it just feels, oh, I can relax, So we eat dinner on the table every day. It gives us time to catch up, talk about stuff, rant, complain to each other. And we are finding ways to bond despite the stresses of, everyday life. We create those moments. Yesterday, I was making dinner. He was doing the dishes. We were having lots of conversation, so just doing those things together. We might not be able to do a date night every night, but just but if I have a work event and I'm going to be home late, he will make dinner. I'll come home and I'll find dinner made, so just finding those small ways that we support each other. And I also try to be as present as I am for him. Like if I know he has this homework he has to do, I'll be like, no, I'll be on kitchen duty and things like that. So everything, we plan it out as a team, and just listening and talking to each other. And he's introverted, so trust, when my husband has things to say, my ears are wide open, because most times I will ask, how was your day? Oh, it was good. But there are days that he has lots to say. And so I understand my role in that moment is to be present and to just listen, listen to him. He's had a hard day, for us. And again, sometimes as women, we talk a lot, and that's how we deal with stuff, So by the time I'm home, I probably talked to this person or that person, right? So it's just finding ways to be present for your partner, because some things we cannot have a date night every single day. But in the home, we actually we go to bed at the same time together. We pray before we go to bed. And I also mentioned that at 9 p.m. we do a Bible study. So sometimes we talk about the things that we are studying, and those small things just continue to strengthen our bond. And also, as we plan out our future, we are kind of saying, okay, this is where we are at now. So this is what we need to do for this home. And then in the next few years, we are pivoting, we are transitioning, just being present, keeping communication channels open, and knowing that sometimes I'm able to give 70, he's able to give 30. And I don't even mean like, financially, even time, like cooking and stuff. And sometimes it's able to give 90. I'm only able to give 10. And so it just becomes this symbiotic relationship where we are kind of, bordering on each other's strengths and building each other, and also pushing each other to become our best selves.
Thank you so much. I'm so inspired but like you, and that's why I like asked this question, because like we see you show up. I know when you were at DU, you were the GSG president, you were also the vice president for the Students for Africa, you were working at the admissions office, you were doing a lot of all those things. You were still like, working. I think that was when you during in January was when you got into the African Chamber as well, and you were
Yes.
still showing up fully for your content. Like we were still seeing those two posts and four
Sometimes I
posts
don't know how I
every
do
week.
it too.
And I was just like, how is this girl doing it? You gotta give me the cheat code. So like that's why I asked the question. And just to like bring out the nuggets that you've said is you have to have structure. For Rose Petals, because I think like what you said makes so much sense. Thinking on its own, it's a lot of work. So if you can just like schedule one day to write a whole content idea. So the bottom line that you have said today is you can actually, so long as you have passion, because for you didn't want to just like give up your passion for the development space. You didn't also want to like just like leave the development space for passion. These are your two passions, right? And then your family, your spirituality as well.
Mm-hmm.
All these things sum total to make to make you uniquely rose petal. So how do you make it work, right? So thinking about like content ideas, I don't know if you are making money from content right now, but like it's a passion project and you're still showing up. So thinking about one day, write out all the content that you do. Some people do it in a year. Some people
Mm-hmm.
write content ideas for a whole year.
Yep.
Some
Yep.
people do it monthly, right?
Yep.
So to say, oh, in this month, these are all the contents that I would like to shoot. And then also there's room for spontaneity, like, oh, you can just like come back from work one day and do that. But the bottom line is there's structure. You know what you're doing per time. That's
Yep.
number one. And
Mm-hmm.
then number two, when you are out of that space, like you're working in your office, you also know what you're doing per time there, right?
Yep.
When you're in your home, I really like what you said about you and your husband sitting on the table. And if it is just that 30 minutes, that 1 hour of having dinner together and catching up and checking up on each other, that's also very, very unique. And then before you go to bed at 9, you find time for God. Beautiful. Me, every morning when I wake up, the very first thing that I do is to pray and read my Bible. So, like, I try as much as I can to not negotiate that. So, mine is in the morning, right? So, like, we have all these schedules. So it's very possible for us as young professionals to like have your life is not only centered around your career. Your life is
Yep.
not only centered around your family life, like your
Mm-hmm.
marriage. Neither is it only centered around one thing. You can actually, live a wholesome life, like a life where you have career, you even have hobbies. Like in your case, Rose Petal, it's like your passion for fashion. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Someone write that
I
down in
like
the
that.
comments.
Yeah,
Your
maybe
passion
you
for
should try
fashion.
writing some
you
songs.
know,
Yeah.
like you have, and you're able to like make it work through like structure the structure that you have shared with us today. I don't want to like overflog this. I would just like encourage everyone to please go back and watch the recording of this session when we post it on YouTube. We have
Yeah.
seen Rose Petal, a young professional who is able to like live a wholesome life, live a full life, and still not burn out, and still be able to like show up and show out for the things that she loves, for the things that are part of her vision, part of the journey that she's trying to build for herself. Meaning it is very, very possible. This is part of the things that we said about like being in spaces. For me, I'm inspired. Listening to people say this, like, oh, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm showing up. Oh, me and my husband, even hearing you say, oh, I know the kind of person that my husband is a very quiet person when he's talking. I'm very open to listening to him. It's also like a big lesson for me as a young woman who is also married as well. Like, oh, also like fully understanding who your husband is and showing up for them in the space that they need and they deserve. So I just want to say once again, thank you very much. And just like finally ask if there's any question in the chat, anyone who wants to like, unmute and ask a question or drop a comment or, just like say anything. Whilst that is going on, I'm just going to like ask you, Rosepetal. I know that there's so much to say. Just
Mm-hmm.
like briefly, let us know, is there any other thing that you think is pertinent for us to know that the questions have not like gotten to today? I know we had like more questions, but like time is not allowing us to like ask those. But I just wanted to like give you the final say to like tell us like things that you think
Mm-hmm.
are very pertinent for us to know as young
Mm-hmm.
professionals. that the
I
question
think
really.
I think what I would just like to say last is for everyone who's created the time to be with us today. I hope that this has been worth your time. And I just want to encourage you that, it might not look like you even have a direction of where things are going. I also know what it is to not know what my next move is. And I also know what it is to, be uncertain or wait for this opportunity and you get turned out. I also know what it feels to like be so sure that I'm going to get it to this space and then you don't get it. Like the professional journey is quite hard, especially when you have to deal with rejections, when you have to deal with, things not going your way. But I just want to encourage you that, what, keep going, keep going. People might not see what you contribute. People might, have all these things that they think you're, good at, but I just want to encourage you that you are amazing. You are amazing.
I don't
It
know.
will all fall in place. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, it will all fall in place. No pressure to fix, embrace them as they come. Someone once said, let life touch you, like experience all of life. Let it not destroy you, but experience it all, the hardship, the success, the all of it, because those experiences are the ones that actually make you into who you become. So yeah, just embrace your own journey. Don't compare yourself. You have so much, and I would hate to see you giving the very things that make you unique because you want to fit in and you want to be like so and so. So the very things that you think are awkward, those are your strengths and those are the things that make you, special. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you very much again, Rosepetal, for agreeing to do this with us today, for sharing from your wealth of knowledge, for sharing the practical things that you're doing as a young professional, how you're navigating life with us today. It takes a lot to give because most people just like want to like receive, or like for you to like be doing this with us today. We're very, very grateful. And also I just want to like add my voice to Rosepetals to say thank you to everyone who clicked the link to join this call today. And I hope that you got something. I got so much, but I hope that you got something, and I hope that this was worthwhile for you and rewarding for joining this call. And then to also like invite you to stay engaged with the Young Professionals Network. Like what we do here is to highlight stories of young professionals, how they're navigating life, the kind of things that they're doing, to see how we can learn from their experiences as well. And even not maybe to learn, but like to hold hands or to like even get validation to know that, oh, you're not alone or you're not an alien or like this is something that other people are experiencing as well. So, like I said in the beginning, the Young Professionals Network is for us all, and we have like social media presence. We're on Instagram, on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn as well. And if you want to like go back to watch this session with Rosepetal, to like just like there were maybe some parts of the conversation that really struck you that you like to like rewatch again, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on post notification. That way you're able to like get immediate updates once we make a new post, and then you can also like watch the replays of this session. So thank you so much for staying on. We went over 30 minutes, 31, but that's because you're having like amazing conversations. Thank you so much. If there's no question, I'm very grateful for everyone being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.